Welcome to Connected. There's a problem impacting the iGaming industry that you may not be aware of, and that it's eroding trust and credibility. It's pirated, fake games content. The problem is bigger than you may think, and we all have a part to play in eliminating this issue. Games providers, operators, affiliates, regulators, and certainly players are all stakeholders here. So join me in a very interesting conversation with someone who's doing something about it. James Elliott, CEO and founder of Gamecheck. James, it's so good to see you. We're good friends, known each other for a long time, but it's great to have a chance to talk with you about something you're working on now as a project, which I think is really interesting. I didn't appreciate how big an issue there was with game legitimacy and game piracy in the industry. So it's really interesting to have you on Connected today to talk about Gamecheck.
Thanks, Ashley. Yes, it's quite funny for us being in the studio together, just having this kind of conversation. Normally we're having a beer or something else. So, but anyway, it's a pleasure to be invited here and to be a part of this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to tell you all about what Gamecheck does and the problem it's looking to solve.
Okay, so simple enough. Let's start there. What is Gamecheck, and why does the industry need it?
I think it's best if we start off by me telling you how Gamecheck came about. One of the problems that you probably know that I used to work at NetEnt, and I've also worked on the operator side. But when I was on the B2B side, one of the problems that we were experiencing at NetEnt is that many organizations, to be illicit organizations, were trying to copy our content and offer NetEnt games. Or allegedly NetEnt games, copies of NetEnt games, to the player community, and this obviously causes a real problem with trust, because you've got players out there thinking they're playing the real deal, they're playing Starburst or they're playing Gonzo's Quest, and of course they're not, and the RTP is typically messed around in. They don't get their winnings, and it's generally bad for the reputation of not just that particular game provider, but the gaming community at large. People are putting their money in and they're not winning, and they're asking why. They think it's the fault of the casino.
I had no idea this was as prevalent as it is, as you've enlightened me to, and that has driven you to set up Gamecheck to try to clamp down on it. It's not, this I thought was at the periphery of the industry, but I think there is. It's such as a digital product, so easy to replicate a game from appearances only that would fool an unsuspecting consumer into believing they're playing the real thing. And it's not just a matter of that operator maybe taking advantage of better commercials by having pirated content, but they're modifying the RTP so the player's not even getting a proper experience. That's probably where the real harm is happening.
It is where the harm's happening, and again, it's a little bit more prevalent than we might initially think.
So I was aware of game piracy as something that was happening at the periphery of the industry, but I didn't realize how big a problem it has grown to become. And from the unsuspected consumer, it's almost impossible to tell on the graphics level if a game is legitimate or not. I think it's whether you're playing the official game or you're playing a pirated game, it's difficult to tell without something such as what Gamecheck is setting out to do to provide evidence of legitimacy of the game content. But you'd think the victim here, the initial victim, might be the game supplier, who is being cheated of revenue that they might have from an operator, or an operator who's just trying to get better commercial terms by having a fake game. Yeah. But it actually impacts the consumer because these games don't have the same RTP. They don't play the same way. The customer is being cheated, and that hurts integrity. Have I captured the problem?
That is the problem, actually, and it all goes down to the trust in the game provider themselves. As you say, it is becoming more increasingly possible for people to use AI to copy games. Anything that has value that can be copied will be copied. Counterfeiting is not new. Counterfeiting exists in many parts of in everything that has value, from expensive works of art to even to fashion or to even currency itself. And of course, people will try and do what they can to copy things. As every game is playable publicly on the internet, it's easy for someone to be able to clone that. And it's for that reason that Gamecheck has decided to create the effectively two things, really, which we'll go on to later. But it's looking to create a seal which allows people to authenticate whether the game is genuine or not.
So this is aimed at the consumer, a seal that is displayed on the operator's website that confirms that that operator has been audited to be offering only legitimate, authentic games content from the official supplier of that game.
Let me tell you about the seal. The seal is, let's start with the beginning. The Gamecheck set out initially to investigate sites where we had become aware that fake content was being offered. And that was purely a name and shame of the sites that our investigators had discovered, to publicly announce to the gaming community that even though the games operators themselves, or the games developers themselves, might not have been able to take enforcement action against these game providers, what we're looking to do is share that information publicly so that people don't play the games on those sites. That was the first iteration of Gamecheck. We then decided that the next phase would to actually create the authentication tool. This is the Gamecheck seal that we'll be talking about. The Gamecheck seal is effectively it's a QR code which we license to operators of websites where we've tested the games on that website and where we have validated the authenticity of the games on that website. The seal is effectively nothing more than a QR code, and it's something that once you've downloaded the Gamecheck app to your phone, you can use the QR code through your camera, and it will tell you whether the games on that site have been checked by us, and if we found any fakes or not. So that's the bit that we're looking to get public awareness out there, so people start looking for the presence of the seal, and start realizing that if someone has a seal, then it gives them the ability to play with confidence, to know that the games on the site have been checked.
So part of the challenge you have is educating the consumer that this problem even exists. They may not be aware of it because it's very difficult to tell from the customer portal through to the game, and then why they should care, that they understand that they're potentially being cheated of fair game from operators that would carry that kind of content.
So yeah, the challenge initially was for us to set up the relative relationships with enough game providers for us to be able to check on behalf of a number of different game providers, so that we can effectively establish familiarity within the game provider community and the operator community, so that the Gamecheck seal becomes the standard for authenticity of gaming. But the other point for us is to get consumers, get players to look at our site, to check before they play, to go on and look at our directory to see if, first of all, if the site they want to play on has been checked by us, if we've verified the games. That will give them the peace of mind that they'll need before they part with their money and they make the deposit. So that's the first step. And the second step is to have the Gamecheck seal, which again we want the player community to start looking for in order to be able to verify the fact the games they're playing have been tested by us.
Okay, if I'm an operator and I'm not licensing any pirated content, all the games I get from the actual supplier, the actual creator and IP owner of that game. And I may have strong brand goodwill and integrity behind the brand that I've built in the industry. Why should I participate? I may not feel I'm part of the problem.
I think this is the beginning. This is one of the tools that the operators should be using in an attempt to create trust with the customers. I think you'll remember back in sort of the late 90s, I think, the game testing houses were first established. Companies like Ecogra, iTech Labs, they were established to test the actual games were performing in accordance with the game maths that they were supposed to be performing. And that was a very important phase in at a time when people weren't familiar with online casinos. And I remember there's a lot of scaremongering going on, saying don't play on an online casino because these games are rigged. These games won't go and give you a winnings. And that was a very important part in developing trust in the online gaming community at that phase when online gaming was nascent. This is another stage, and this is where we're looking now to create, because fake and pirating of games has become more of an issue. This is another tool that operators should be thinking of having in order to be able to help create that trust in their sites. So yes, it's true. The big casinos, the big brands that people already recognize, that it's true that people would not suspect them of having fake games, but at the same time, if people can become familiar with the Gamecheck seal, and this is something we're looking to get operators to display on their sites, it will create that watermark, that sort of standard that people will want to look for, and it will help. In my belief, it will help drive out the black market, because I think the operators in the black market, the guys with no qualms about ripping off their customers, they will be the ones that won't be able to get the seal, and it will help consumers to decide where they want to spend their money.
Yeah, I was thinking about this after you told me about Gamecheck. I was thinking about, well, probably the most important participants are going to be the ones that aren't part of the problem per se. The operators who have established brands with goodwill with customers may not see the value immediately in their participation. But the more I thought about it, I thought, well, what you really want to do is unmask who are the rogue actors in this, and they're not eligible to participate. So to expose their ineligibility, there has to be wide participation amongst those that are offering only legitimate content to their customers. So it's a problem that impacts the entire industry, undermines legitimacy across the board for any customer out there looking for somewhere to play and choosing a new operator to play with. And every operator is trying to acquire new customers. So no matter how big your business, you're always involved in new customer acquisition. So anything that undermines credibility with the consumer, you're a stakeholder in. And we can't put badges on the bad actors. So the only way to have them be identified is by their lack of a badge of being a good actor. At least that's where I got to in thinking about it. Okay, so it's also important for marketing partners, I would think. If I was affiliated with an operator and I'm sending them traffic, the game seal is another marker that I'm dealing with a straight shooter. And I suppose, as an affiliate promoting a casino, your first thought might be, well, I don't care if their games are legitimate or not. If their games weren't, there might be more money for me to earn in the rev share equation. But I think the question there is, if an operator is prepared to cheat the customers, they're probably prepared to cheat everybody they do business with, and it's not a good place for you to put your traffic and attention. So there's really many stakeholders, right?
There are, and again, we've been talking to affiliate sites. One of the things that I think affiliate sites have actually approached us directly about is they're already rating online casinos for their ability to their bonus fairness of their bonus terms and conditions, their speed of paying out of winnings, the trust that the site already has. And the bit that they've actually asked us to do is to help them to understand if these games, if any games are fake on those sites. It's an extra criteria upon which they can score their sites. Having said that, if they can even identify one game that's fake on that, it shows that the operator themselves is not to be trusted. If these sites are willing to have fakes on there, it goes to the root of their integrity, and that's one of the things that that casino rating sites are actually very keen to get from us, is that element of that extra element for their reviews.
The other thing I thought was interesting when we were talking about earlier was, it's not necessarily all or nothing in that an operator either has fake content or they have legitimate content. And there's a risk to customers that an operator has legitimate content and fake content. So you're not checking just once. Your team is checking all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, actually, some of the operators out there have got wise to not just us, but to the suspicion that they might have fakes on there. And some operators have actually been known to switch between genuine games and fake games, depending on which players are on side, what time of day they are, how involved they are in that particular game session, and the player wouldn't actually know. So one of the things that you'll find is that maybe a VIP suddenly decides to start playing heavy stakes, and all of a sudden their games get switched and they wouldn't know. So the important thing for us is that we're always monitoring the sites. We don't just go in and check the site once a day. We have the ability to look at when the game sessions are in, and actually go quite deep into the game sessions. to be able to verify it. And our tools do verify the sites on a regular basis. We're currently monitoring about 26,000 URLs a month. So it's
Sorry, 26,000.
26,000 URLs a month. Yeah.
I had a look at the Gamecheck site too as well. When you look at an operator there, it shows you the history of how frequently you've checked and audited their site.
Yeah, that's right. And the good thing is, it's all automated. So actually, we can check more and more regularly. So the big piece of work initially was to try and identify all the sites that are out there, because you and I will probably only have heard of, if maybe 100 or 102 gaming brands, but there are plenty more out there, and that's the thing. We're looking at all different markets. We're looking at LATAM. We're looking at Asia. We're looking at so we are monitoring sites all over the world, and that's the bit that that once we've got the once we're aware of the site's existence, then we're able to continue to monitor those sites.
Okay, so technically, then, how does an operator participate? What does it mean? The user experience for the end consumer, and how heavy a lift is it for an operator to enroll in Gamecheck and be certified?
For an operator, it's very easy. You come to the Gamecheck site, click on the Gamecheck seal, sign up. There's some terms and conditions that you have to accept, and then we'll provide you with the seal that is unique to your URL, and that will be there for you to use. You then have to embed it into your website. And of course, we'll do the tests on your site on an ongoing basis to make sure that the seal continues to have its value.
Okay, so it's simple for the operator to install the game seal to display that on their website. What about the end customer? Do they need to get the Gamecheck app in order to participate as an end user?
Not at all. So there are two ways they can do it. First of all, yes, I mean, the app is the easiest way. You download.
What does the app do?
The app is something that allows you to use your camera, your phone camera, to be able to go straight to our website and identify whether the QR code that is displayed on that website is not only showing that, first of all, the QR code is specific to the website itself. So that will then be verified through our back end to let you know whether that is the correct QR code for that website. And secondly, to know whether the games on those sites have been tested and and proven that there have been no fakes found on that site. So that's the QR code. If you don't want to get the QR code, if you don't want to get the app on your phone, you can just as easily go to gamecheck.com and enter the URL of the site that you want to play on, and that will tell you whether the games on that site have been tested by us. And whether we've found fakes on there. If it's a site that we haven't tested yet, you can also report that site, or two things.
Nominate that.
You can nominate that site, and we can research that site for you. Or if it's a site that you suspect because you believe that the games on that site aren't correct, you can also report that site as suspicious. And we will then also go off and investigate it for you, and then reveal our.
Either before you play or even after you've been playing at a site, if you had reason to believe you weren't playing a fair game, you can check that operator. If you hadn't checked at the door, you can go to Gamecheck and see if they have been certified by Gamecheck as a
at both stages. And actually, that's the beauty of what we're trying to do, because we're trying to share the knowledge between the community. There are lots of one of the things I found when I was at NetEnt is that we only knew a small piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and yet there are other game providers that had done equal research or overlapping research, and that they weren't sharing it. And the thing about Gamecheck is that we are independent. We're able to provide that research for game providers, but at the same time combine it with the knowledge that we already have. And sometimes the links can be formed as a result of the piece of the jigsaw puzzle that we have that other game providers may not have.
What are game providers saying as you take this to them?
They're very pleased with us, actually. I think they're very they were quite keen to hear more about us. We're working now with some of the top brands. We're working with Push Gaming. We're working with Pragmatic. We're working with Evo. We're working with Blueprint. They're just to name a few that we're allowed to name. We're working with Spride as well. Actually, they were interested because their game Aviator was being copied quite a lot particularly in the LATAM markets. So they're keen. They're very happy that we're doing this piece of work for them. As I say, when I was an IP lawyer at NetEnt, one of the problems that we were having is, yes, we could identify which sites had the fake games, but it was very difficult for us to be able to enforce take the owner of that site to court because they were in remote locations and in countries where IP enforcement was very difficult, and it was expensive. So rather than actually go down an individual enforcement route with each site, we felt the cheaper and the easy way to do it was actually to name and shame them. And interestingly, off the back of naming and shaming, we've found that some sites have actually not been able to reestablish themselves because the gaming community has become aware they have fakes on them. It's a very difficult position to rewind from. Even if you send out emails to your players saying, "Oh, by the way, our domain name's changed," they won't trust you anymore. And that we've got two very good examples of sites that have literally not been able to continue. Another thing that we have is a very active social media following through our Instagram, through our Twitter accounts, looking at all the different highlighting where we know that where fakes have been found, and the power of that dissemination of information is very strong. Players will communicate with each other. Players love sharing their stories, and once your name has been tarnished in such a way, people will not want to come back and play on your sites.
Yeah, and the fact that it's very simple to use and provides a lot of comfort for the end user, the player. I expect word will travel fast amongst the player communities as you get better rollout of the Gamecheck participation across the industry. I think it's really important what you're doing, and I applaud you for finding this solution to the problem. And I hope through Connected, we're able to get the word out a little bit more and encourage more operators to participate as a platform for operators that are working off of our Pragmatic Solutions platform. We only integrate content from the official supplier of that game's content, but I see the value for our customers in being able to display the game seal check and help crush out the problem by unmasking those that are missing it, that weren't qualified to carry it. Is there anything else you'd like to tell people about how they get started or where they go to learn more? Should they go to gamecheck.com, is it?
Definitely go to gamecheck.com, go to the App Store, download the Gamecheck app. And also, just keep your eyes out for anywhere that you believe that that fake games exist, because we're interested to know that information. We're interested to add that information to our database. To us, it all has value. And even if you suspect but you're not sure, we'll be able to do the hard work for you and investigate those sites. And it's through collaborations through companies like Pragmatic Solutions that we're looking to disseminate the Gamecheck seal. We're looking forward to working with you and your customers to see if they're interested in taking the seal, and just create awareness about the fact that the seal is the thing that you should be using to verify before you play.
Well, I wish it was a solution we didn't need for a problem that didn't exist, but that's not the world we're in. So thank you very much for talking to us about it. Good luck with Gamecheck. We're going to do all that we can to help promote it with our customers, and look forward to talking with you next time about how it's been received by the industry. Thanks, James.
Oh, yeah, thanks.